Core Concepts for Open Architecture AV Design. Chapter 10. Programming W-Series Wall Panels. The learning objectives for this chapter are: to be able to describe the features of the W-Series wall panels, assign control elements to devices and parameters using Composer software, recognize the commonalities and differences between the four W-Series controllers and identify specific use cases where each may be the optimal choice. The Symmetrix W-Series wall panels are IP-based and PoE-powered and feature editable OLED screens. Shown here from left to right are the W1, W2, W3, and W4. These can be used by themselves in a system or combined to optimize the placement of controllers and functionality available to end users. In this chapter, we'll look specifically at how to program the controllers in the W-Series. While the number of examples will be limited by time, the concepts and configuration instructions are applicable to any number of use cases. This flexibility is a key benefit of open architecture systems like the Symmetrix Composer series of DSPs. Programming is made easier by the W-Series diagnostics panel that displays real-time edits and simulated control for verification of functionality. Within the Composer design application, the W-Series can be found in the toolkit under the IP remotes section. All W-Series devices are placed and discovered exactly like our DSPs, using an IP address. The W-Series controllers are powered over Ethernet using either a user-supplied PoE injector or PoE network switch. This allows them to be placed anywhere on the network. All models have options to edit the view of the OLED screen. Access these settings in the Unit Properties window by clicking Edit Remote Settings. On models with an encoder knob, there are different modes you may choose from that utilize this parameter. The W1 is simple to use, features a push-button encoder and has an OLED display. The encoder can operate in a continuous fashion, as in a volume control. The push button can toggle a binary or momentary action, for example, a mute or preset recall. Or it can be used to toggle between two encoder assignments. To assign a parameter to a W1, right-click on the specific object to be controlled, for example, a fader handle. Then select Setup to Remote Control. From the Setup Remote Control window, choose the W1 you added to the site file. Add the master mute to the W1 as well. In its default configuration, the W1 will provide one assignable encoder and one assignable button. The encoder is utilized by turning the knob and the button by pressing the knob. We can change the W1's configuration to allow for up to 8 encoder controls. To do this, right-click on the W1 in the site view or in the Unit Diagnostics window and click W1 Remote Unit Properties. In the W1 Remote Unit Properties window, click Edit Remote Settings. In the Edit W1 Settings window, the encoder button mode can be changed to Encoder Menu Select. When selected, multiple menu items become available for control assignment. Bring in a 4-button radio from the toolkit to your site file and 2 dual preset triggers. Wire them such that each button triggers a different preset. Label each button. Right-click on the selected fader. Select Setup to Remote Control from the drop-down menu. Select the W1 from the Remote Control Devices and Encoder Menu number 3 from the drop-down. Device behavior, including brightness, idle behavior, and sleep behavior, can be adjusted in the W1 Remote Menu Properties. You can also configure the menu behavior including naming, step values, minimum, maximum, and units. Menu items can be verified in the W1 Remote Menu Properties. Each menu item can be assigned a custom name or icon. Text alignment and font can also be changed. When a radio button select menu is created, it will have different fields in the menu. Item names can be changed or replaced with icons. Alignment may be adjusted, the menu can wrap values, and the bar graph can be disabled. The second device in the W-Series is the W2. It has 4 momentary buttons and a display. The programming features are similar to the ARC SW4E, however it is enhanced with the ability to designate an arbitrary contiguous number of buttons as a radio button group, while allowing the remaining buttons to be assigned to individual functions. Open the 4-button radio module. Right-click on the radio buttons and select Setup to Remote Control. Choose the W2 remote from the Remote Control Devices. Radio button menu number 1 should be selected by default on the Select Wall Remote menu drop-down. Click OK. All 4 buttons should appear on the W2 in the Module Diagnostics window, as labeled in the Radio button module. Add a 1-button momentary and a trim from the toolkit to your site. Open the momentary and label the button cough. Right-click the button and select Auto Assign Next and Used Control Number. Display settings on the W2 can be changed in the Edit W2 Settings window. Menu item display settings can also be changed in the W2 Remote Unit Properties. Notice how the LED mode differs between the preset radio buttons and the momentary button menu items. Editing the name, display type, and LED mode will make the momentary button menu item match the radio button items. The W3 combines a push button encoder and 4 momentary buttons, as well as 2 displays. It provides expanded select and set functionality, multiple encoder modes, and encoder menu select. To assign a parameter to the W3 encoder, right-click on the fader, then select Setup to Remote Control. From the Setup Remote Control window, choose the W3 you added to the site and encoder menu under the Wall Remote menu, then click OK. The Unit Diagnostic module for the W3 will open, and Gain 1 will appear in the encoder window. Use the drop-down menu to assign the encoder button mode. The encoder button can either be used to cycle through menu items for the encoder, or it can function as an independent button. If separate button menu is selected, the encoder can operate a single menu item, or menu items can be selected with the individual buttons. Set up Gain 2 to remote control in the W3 encoder menu. Pressing the encoder button cycles through menu items. Right-click on the W3 simulator and select W3 Remote Unit Properties. Then, select Edit Remote Settings. In this window, default menu styles may be chosen. Here we want the default button menu to be Name. Click OK when you're finished. Add a 4-button latched module into the design. Relabel the buttons, right-click the first, and select Setup to Remote Control. Ensure that W3 Remote and button menu number 1 are selected before clicking OK. Use the drop-down menu to select the LED mode of the menu item. Here, Invert has been selected. Following the same process, add the remaining buttons. The end result should look like this. Finally, the W4 remote controller features a push-button encoder, 8 momentary buttons, and 3 displays. This model expands the functionality of the W3 to include up to 8 different assignments for select and set, radio groups, and individual buttons. The W4 is only available in a US form factor. Double-click the W4 remote in Site View to open W4 Remote Unit Properties. In W4 Remote Unit Properties, click the Edit Remote Settings button. Choose Encoder button menu and select and set encoder menu using individual buttons. Add an 8-channel gain into the design view. Right-click the Channel 1 gain fader and select Setup to Remote Control. Choose the W4 remote. The Select Wall Remote menu drop-down should default to Select and Set menu number 1, then click OK. Gain 1 has been added as a Select and Set menu item. Repeat this process to put each gain fader as a Select and Set menu item. Functionality of the Select and Set encoder menu is demonstrated here. Return to the 8-channel gain module and right-click on the Master Mute button. Select Setup to Remote Control. With the W4 selected, the Select Wall Remote drop-down should default to Encoder button menu, then click OK. Use of the Encoder button in conjunction with Select and Set encoder menu is demonstrated here. In summary, W-Series wall panels are IP-based, PoE-powered, and feature editable OLED screens. Control elements can be controlled by right-clicking them and selecting Setup to Remote Control. W1 features a push-button encoder and a display. The encoder can operate in a continuous fashion, i.e., volume control. W2 features 4 momentary buttons and a display. Programming features include the ability to designate an arbitrary contiguous number of buttons as a radio button group while allowing the remaining buttons to be assigned to individual functions. W3 features a push-button encoder and 4 momentary buttons, as well as 2 displays. It provides expanded select and set functionality, multiple encoder modes, and encoder menu select. W4 features a push-button encoder, 8 momentary buttons, and 3 displays. W4 includes up to 8 different assignments for select and set, radio groups, and individual buttons.